Good evening. Welcome to Airfix and Chill. Nice to see you all. Bit of housekeeping. Thanks for the comments about last week from people who've messaged me and said that it was a
You've gone all
really
weird, man.
thought.
What the world?
Take a
Oh
cunt.
no, hang on a minute. The
It's so-
chipmunks have invaded.
Oh, am I back or have I gone?
No, you're back.
Oh,
You're back now.
What?
Oh, you've gone again,
Oh, no.
Mars. There's something not right there, mate.
Yeah, the chipmunks and the Daleks have invaded.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Would you like me and Jim to do a dance?
I'll tell you
while
what,
leave
the-
and come back.
We can do interpretive dance.
Am I back in the room?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Get you.
I think my internet's a bit. I think StreamYard's having trouble with internet, but yeah, there's a good positive comments about how we approached the subject last week, and we do talk about these things, and they're just it was something that we felt it was easy to discuss, and I think we got the message across. I think it's open to interpretation wherever you are, and at the end of it, if you feel that you can or you want models to be accurate, then there are ways and means for you to complete your model to the highest accuracy that you so wish without involving scale models per se. Right. Anyway, that's it really. If I'm a bit laggy, I'm sorry. Internet should be okay. But if we disappear, it's because of that. Anyway, thanks all for joining. Luke, I thought you would have had a suntan being close to the sun because you've been up at the mountains this weekend, I guess, haven't you?
Yeah, but I do stupid shit now and again.
Oh, dear.
So I try and prove to myself that I'm still a young man. But obviously now I have a partner who despairs most of the time at some of the shit I do. So at least once a year, I go to Snowdonia when the weather's bad, and I go up Snowdon. Well, now I take the dog with me because he's a snow dog anyway. He's a mountain dog, so he loves it. But it so happened that this weekend, which was the weekend I planned to do it on the Saturday, there's like amber weather warnings and storms, and I'm like, well, that's a test, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I don't tell anyone because everyone jumps on social media and goes, oh, you're an idiot. You're going to get search and rescue out, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I won't, but
Yeah.
I'm going to do it anyway. But unbeknownst to me, she booked this lovely like log cabin. So once I throw myself up and down the mountain and came back, as I do every year, realizing I'm not quite as young as I once was. There was a nice log cabin to relax in with a hot tub. So yeah, it was okay.
Yeah. Did I see Ben in the comments, by the way? Did I see Ben? Yeah. Have you got the link, mate? You can come in if you want. Did I not send you the link? I thought I did.
Don't think you got it this week.
No. I did send the link out. So just Ben, if I didn't send the link, let me know when I send it again. I'm sure I sent the link to Ben. He's normally first on the list. So anyways, so tonight we're going to talk about what makes a great scale model kit. So I'll put it out there. What are people's thoughts? What do you look for in a kit? Is there anything that puts you off? Is there a brand that you think, oh, this is going to be a crap kit? Or is there a brand that you think, this is going to be a great kit, but I may have a warped sprue? You know what I mean? Is there anything like that? So we'll put it out there. We'll start with you, Joffy. What makes a great kit for you?
I've been thinking quite hard about this subject, and
Not too hard.
I think there are lots of things that make a kit good. Three in particular things. I think you've got to have the quality there. You've got to have the depth of detail. You've got to have the fact that things aren't overdone on the kit. You've also got to have the fact that the kit's good value for money. And it's got to be well engineered. Any of those things will produce a good kit, but if you have all three of those together, it's a great scale model. And I think that's basically it.
When you mean engineer, are you talking about fit or are you talking about accuracy?
I'm talking about no accuracy as part of the quality.
Mm.
Engineering is all to do with how the kit fits together.
Mhm.
If the company has engineered a kit well, it should fit together. It shouldn't give the modeler any headaches whatsoever. And I think if you have all three of those categories together in the box, it's a good package and it should make a great scale model.
Okay.
Hi, Ben.
Interesting. What
And
about
indeed-
you, Jim? What's your take? What makes a great kit for you?
Oh, okay, and you just hit the nail on the head for me, because I think it depends on what each modeler is for. I mean, if a model producer out there puts out a 48 scale fairy fruit bat, there's somebody out there that's been waiting for that for 50 years, and bam, that's the best kit ever, right? And it could be
Yeah.
lacking in everything else that most modelers want. So it's kind of, I don't want to say subjective, but for me, and in my advanced years in age, and I don't want to fight with kits anymore. Those days are behind me. So stuff that goes together, that's well engineered, as John was saying, stuff that just falls together, and not necessarily so I can get onto other aspects. It's just when you don't have to fight something. I mean, because invariably I'm gonna make a mistake and knock something off, and then I gotta fix my mistake, and then that leads into it. But that's not the manufacturer's problem. It's just whatever falls together. And I don't want snap together kits, but I want something, the Tamiya F4Bs, the Tamiya F14s, and not just Tamiya. I mean, Great Wall puts out a beautiful A10 right now. That was a fun kit to do. And I think when anything that you get at the end of, like, say 3 weeks, if you've got the time that you can put it together in 3 weeks and paint it and get through that process in that amount of time, and you had fun, yeah, that's a great kit. And so for me, whatever I can say, man, I really enjoyed that. That was really a lot of fun. That becomes a great kit for me.
Yeah. Fair play. Fair play. What about you, John Alec? What makes a great kit for you?
Very similar to John Parker. For me, it is the fit, the engineering, the mold quality, right, and the instructions. You can have a plastic is absolutely fantastic, fit is great, but man, you got to figure it out for yourself. I love really good. I deal in protocols, so an instruction sheet should be a really nice protocol on how to put that kit together. So those are my three things. I also agree, man. It's an example. Copper State models, they had all those three things, and I'm not dissing them, but I thought that it was, by the time I was done, I thought that's an overpriced kit. That was so that brought it down. It checked those other things, but it's like, that could have been about $20 cheaper.
Understand that. Yeah. What about you, Ben? What makes a great kit for you?
If it floats in the bathtub.
Yeah, if it can go around in circles, it's absolutely top dollar for me. I think for me it's a mix of three things, which is price, so the price point of where it's marketed at, the complexity of the kit, if it's really simple or if it's really difficult, and also the accuracy of the kit of the subject it's modeling. And sort of those three things for me make up like the key components of when I'm making a decision on a model. Sort of, I think, like similar to, I think Luke would be aware, like the armored triangle or something. I think they call it with tanks, which is like firepower, protection, mobility. It's a similar sort of calculation for me in my head. Yeah, because you're always going to compromise on one of those three elements, be it price, be it complexity, be it accuracy. But I would say probably the thing that might push me in a certain direction to make a hard choice will always actually be the instructions as well. Yeah, because I could have a really good kit, beautifully complex and really accurate, but if the instructions are garbage, that will put me off a kit, even if the tooling itself is brilliant. Yeah. So I think when looking at the plastic itself, I'll use those three elements. but I still think you have to get the instructions right, or
Yeah.
at least be in such a place that if they are pretty terrible, the build is not that complicated. And that comes down to sort of like the engineering decisions that John was talking about.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just trying to think, you know, of kits that I've built, and the instructions have been fantastic, but the fit themselves has been awful. I'm just trying to think of kits that have been. I think there's been a couple of Revel kits like that. I think the mini art, the instructions. You know that the mini art kit will be a great build once you get through it all, but the instructions can be beyond that. You're having a lot of guesswork. What about you, Luke? Is there any kit that, what do you think's great for what makes a great scale model kit?
I think it's very subjective, and I think it depends on the modeler. And I would echo what everyone has said about sort of good fit, good engineering and design of this said kit. But as Jim would describe me, for example, I'm a makeup modeler. So, yeah, it's fabulous. So I'm all about the sort of painting, rendering. That's what, that's what, to me, the construction is.
Now, eh?
It's almost like a necessary evil, So for me, it's if you enjoy the build, and people enjoy different aspects of the build or of the project, if you like, whether that be they lean more towards the way I do, which is painting, weathering, and all that stuff. That's the bit I enjoy the most.
Yeah.
There are other people that for them construction, accuracy, so perhaps they would be more subject driven.
Yes.
And willing to spend that amount of time and the scratch building, the 3D printing, and all that stuff that they can do to make it a well-engineered kit and make it as accurate as they possibly can. And they may not even paint it at the end. They may leave it in the bare plastic and photo etch and everything else.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately, if you enjoy the process of a particular kit, then that makes it a good kit. And I think I said to you, Miles, a few months ago when you built the Stalwart, and there was lots of commentary around certain YouTube channels and certain groups about how bad that kit was because of the sink marks and everything else. You finished it, messaged me and said, I finished it. I had a great time building it, absolutely loved it. And I think I said to you, well, that makes it a good kit then.
Yeah.
Because if you've enjoyed it to the point where you can't put it down and you want to keep working, that's a good kit. It doesn't, to me, I'm very lucky that price doesn't really factor into it.
Yeah.
If it's something I want or a subject that I want to build, then I am willing to pay for that. And maybe pay what other people would consider above the odds for a particular thing. But yeah, I think it's about the enjoyment of it, and a lot of that will come from subject.
Absolutely.
The modeler's got the interest in the subject matter. They're probably willing to take a lot more time, but they're going to enjoy that process.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you make some valid points there, because I can say that the Airfix Messerschmitt BF109, so far as I've got it on the bench building it, I love it. I think it's a great kit.
I do.
But I know there's somebody out there, and you're probably one of them, Luke, who ain't going to build it until they get all the aftermarket they want for it.
Yeah.
And then they build it.
Yeah, then I'm going to build it.
And then for them, that will become a cracking kit for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Subject.
I spent a good 8 hours yesterday, bit by bit, doing the cockpit or the dials on the display, at the front. And I thought to myself, I could just sand this bit down and wait for an aftermarket bit and stick it on.
Which
know
is
what I mean?
exactly what I'm going to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going to wait
exactly.
until someone comes
That-
out with a 3D cupcake set. Yeah.
But that hasn't taken away from me that this is becoming one of my best kits I've ever built from Airfix.
Yeah.
And I've been watching Nigel build his, and you know, and thoroughly enjoyed what he's doing, and I'm doing something very similar. But I'm trying to watch him after I've done my section. So, and then I've done it, and he's basically done it the same way as I've done it, even though he's recorded it and I haven't. But yeah, it's been absolutely fascinating to put this together. It's been an absolute joy. Zinzan, what's your take on
What they all said. What they all said. No, but I mean, but seriously, I wrote the word subjective, and it's completely a choice in your own mind about what you want to do. I mean, I can think of some examples of where I've been truly invested in the subject, and one of those is the Qatari Mark 1 Spitfire. The other one is, surprisingly, the TSR2. They were both great little kits for me because they went together easily. The TSR2 I was so invested in because I'd known about that aircraft since I was a tacker a long time ago, and I wanted to put as much else into it as I possibly could, and to render it in a way that was as accurate as possible. So for me, that became a great kit. There's another thing I was thinking. There's two things I would add. Is it a great kit? Would you do it again? Would you build another one? And I've bought another Mark 1 Spitfire. I bought the Mark 1 Qatari early because there's actually quite a few things you can do with that.
Yeah.
So that puts it in the pantheon of greatness, if you like. But the other thing, and I think it's just only been really touched on here, is you can build it yourself, but can you watch someone else do it? And the answer on that BF 109 appears to be yes.
Yeah.
You're doing it yourself and you're watching somebody else do it as well. That means it's generating a lot of interest. It means it's doing the right thing. And yes, of course, it should be better than the kits that have come before, because the trajectory of development of these things is always upwards. They're always getting better because they're comparing themselves to who they were yesterday, not who someone else is today. And that might be the best of things. So there's a couple of examples of great kits for you, but also I think this whole thing about would you watch someone else, and the answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think that makes it a good kit.
Yeah. Nigel's just put in there, the Airfix BF 109 for me is the best kit I've ever built. I love it. Just on a caveat, so I'm going to go to you in a minute, Barry, but to Boldly Goes put out a video about the warp wings on his kit. He had a bit of warpage in the wings, and he did a video of it saying there's a little bit of warpage here, but it's mostly on the sprue, blah, blah, blah. And he puts it back in the box, or he leaves it on his desk or something, on his bench. And he comes back half a day later, and it's perfectly straight now.
It's probably to do with the packing.
And that's it. It's how they've been packed. I don't, people complain saying there's a bit of warpage on it. I didn't have any on mine. But then again, I was looking at how mine came out of the bag, and I think that my wings are on top in the box. So where
are they wrapped individually, or are they put into one big bag that's then clamped?
I think they would. Yeah, I think they would with those wings. They were. I think if you look at the videos from like Flory and Pete Oxley, I think they were all in together, and I think that's what caused the warpage. But he left it. He just, he was honest about it. He goes, I left it on the side, and when he came back a few hours later, 5 hours later, the warp had gone. So maybe there's something to say about that. That maybe it's just the way they've been packed. They've just, they've been on a boat, for the past 3 months, tucked away. But maybe that's the benefit of Airfix, the new plastic Airfix. So
look, the sprues can bend, and the bending of the sprues can make the whole thing look horrendous.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the reviews that we saw, they showed this thing on the sprue, and the sprue's like a donkey's bloody hind leg, but they're not really looking at the part itself. And the bend on the sprue prevents you from seeing how the other bits of it looked. And yeah, that makes sense to me. If you withdraw it from the sprue and just leave it on a flat surface, it might actually turn out not to be so bad after all. So, props to Sir James for doing that. I think, fair enough. We've all perhaps learnt something today.
Yeah. Well, Phil Flory also flattened his in the same way, left overnight with a bottle of paint on top, and it kind of found its level. So was it over dramatized? You be the judge. Dare me say anything. If I say anything derogatory or anything, I'd have to put these glasses on and say, hey, you know what I mean? It's definitely, I ain't going to judge anyone. People, I will say that, and kit shouldn't come like that, which is part of the next question. But before I get to that, Barry, what do you think what makes a cracking kit for you? Hang on. Wait, Barry, I think your microphone's gone a bit haywire. I think we've got Alvin.
He's reverted to his normal voice. That's what's happened.
I think we found the mic issue.
We found the mic issue. But I think your mic's gone.
Yeah, your mic.
I'll tell you
He
what.
swallowed one of the chipmunks. That's what happened.
Do you know what? Old Justin, he's the guy that's been ringing that woman down the road with the ransom. That's him. That's him. Honestly, I thought, crumbs. I thought we were watching the black.
Sounds like he's inhaled 200 cubic foot of helium, quite honestly.
Well, he'll come back, hopefully. He's logged out. He's logged back in and again. He'll come back. My take on this, what makes a great kit, and I'm going to be honest with you, is the plastic. For me, that you get a kit, there's no short shot. The plastic's pretty, the plastic is a good plastic, easy to glue together, no buggering about with it. The fit is good, that you get all these elements to it. Details good on the kit. For me, it's more about the plastic. If I get a kit that, I look through the sprues, everything's there, I'm pretty much happy with what I've bought. Instructions are up there as being, without good instructions, there is no point. There's no point in guessing, because what you guess at step number 5 will probably bugger you up at step number 20. That for me is very important. A bloody good box art is also what makes a good kit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Mr. Craft could be testament to that solely on kit sales.
Well, Jim's doing the Goonies on me. What's your take on that then, Jim? You don't think the box art?
You can't judge a book by its cover.
No.
Oh, yes, you can.
No. And there's some beautiful box art out there, and you're like, oh yeah, because it gets you, it hooks you, right? And you buy it, you get it home, and then it bites you. The box art and the kit are two entirely different things. I love box art. I mean, it's visual. We're all visual hobby. It sucks you in. You're like, yeah, and then you're just like, oh, and throw it across the room or whatever.
Yeah.
That's why that's the only reason why I take exception to box art. To me, it's two entirely different things.
Are you telling me, Jim, that the 1980s Airfix boxings didn't sell them? The box art didn't do it with just a model in sort of like some dodgy spotlight?
Or the Palatoy blueprint ones.
Yeah, I think the box art is absolutely a selling point.
Yes,
because people are very visual and they will think, as we all do, that they can recreate something that is inspired by the box art. They do that a lot, but I don't think box art is a factor in what is or isn't a great kit.
Fair play.
Because I'm not building the box; I'm building the kit.
I mean, if you look at most box art, it'll have somewhere on the box art the model may differ from.
Really?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm looking
Rival are classic for it, aren't they? They're like the kings of good box art, but actually, what's inside the box is sometimes lacking.
But to me, the box art is linked very, very closely to the subject matter.
Yeah,
There must be something to invoke you into building something. Oh, come on. You can't tell me you saw that box art of that Stalwart and it gave you visions of what you can do with that kit.
It doesn't make it a great kit or a bad kit.
No, but
no.
It's a selling point. It's the market.
I'm just saying it's a subject matter.
Yeah, but it doesn't contribute to whether that kit is good, bad, or indifferent.
Box art is just designed to attract
selling. To showcase. Yeah, it's to get people to pull it off the shelf and buy it.
I'd argue it's not a defining element in terms of it's not like the quality control of the kit itself, but I think it encompasses itself in the overall lure of the kit, a bit like Zinzan was talking about. People watching people building models, building them themselves. That's not necessarily part of the kit. Whereas, like with the box
art, very
art,
different thing. If we're talking about what makes a great kit, how that kit is marketed is a different thing.
Yeah, I agree with you.
It doesn't
make any difference to what's inside the box, does it?
Exactly.
It depends. If we're talking about what makes a great kit on its own, not against anything else, I would agree. But if we were then going to do rankings of what is the greatest kit or something, then I think box art is important because I think it then builds into it.
Yeah,
and again, from a personal perspective,
that comes down to the subjectiveness of what makes a great kit, what makes a bad kit. For me, box art could come in a plain box with a label on it. I wouldn't care.
Okay.
Tamiya is 38 in 48 scale. They came out with the white box boxing.
Mm-hmm.
No box art at all. It's a Tamiya kit. It's a beautiful kit. There's no box art whatsoever.
And pretty much during the lockdown and that sort of fiasco, every kit that Games Workshop sold came in a white box with a barcode on. But they're all great kits.
Miss Modler's saying, I don't think that's true. I've done multiple kits that are just vague written instructions and they end up being great kits. Instruction manuals, you can say, that was a great kit, but could you say it was an enjoyable kit? The word great, it's like the word love. We're so crap in our English language. We say we love a cheese and onion sandwich, or we love our wife. We use the same word, don't we? But we look at it different connotations. What I'm saying great is that how many times have you built a kit and you've gone, this has been fantastic, and those instructions were so good. Do you know what I mean? I'm sure it's all part and parcel. Yeah, you may get some kits that have really, vague written instructions, etc. But you go away thinking, that was a good kit. That was a good kit, but it would have been easier if I had better instructions building it. If you see what I mean. I think instructions are very valuable. Look at what Airfix have done with the BF109. They are on par with what you get from, dare I say it, Qatari. And they're better than what Tamiya can give us. The amount of detail that's in there showing you, the colors of, inside the cockpit, the armament, how the engine goes. It's fantastic. Very well. It's an education as well.
That's absolutely right. I had the opportunity to take a look at bits of this new BF109. I haven't got one myself, so I can only have a little bit of an opinion about this. But what I saw was bloody impressive, and particularly the wings, the way that the wings fit together was very, very good. And that's one of the first things you're going to notice when you start to do this. So I thought, proper. That's good. And it has all the makings of a 50 years from now vintage classic.
But have Airfix ever done something like this where the actual instructions have the box art and the engine on the front of their, I don't think they've ever done that before. It's like a magazine. Is that new? That is a new thing, isn't it?
That's new style.
Airfix produced booklets before because they've done booklets for large kits.
Oh
before.
yeah, but what I mean is normally
nothing like that.
I'll say I think what they've done here is they've decided that their 1/24th kit is a premium product, and so they're selling it as a premium product, and the feel of everything around it is premium. It's top end. It's not going to appeal to everybody, but the people that have got it have liked it. There's, they've said, "Oh, this thing's going together really well. It's, it's building very nicely, and it's all, there's lots of things there that I like about it." And then other people are building the kit, and they're looking at their buddies' builds. Nige is getting more views on this particular project than he's probably had on quite a lot of other projects recently, and quite right too. And so's Moss and all the rest of them. It's generated a lot of interest.
So normally the instruction would be like this. You've got like that. Yeah.
I
totally
think
different. Go on, Barry.
Instructions. Oh, sorry. Go on, Barry.
Does my mic work now?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, Jar Jar Binks, it does.
I thought it was more
I can't hear myself. Okay, I've got to rewind a bit. What makes a great kit?
Better now.
Oh, thank you very much. To my mind, a great kit is one that gives you the most pleasure building it. I think that covers all your bases.
Yeah.
Good shout.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the instructions or this or that or this, as long as you have pleasure doing it.
Yeah.
It becomes it's more of a personal preference versus a technical breakdown. So which avenue do you want to go down to define what a great kit is? Is it a subjective thing that you love the box art, the decals are great, the subject's what you're all about, and you're willing to put up with, well, it doesn't quite fit here, I got to do a little work here, it could still be a great kit for that person. Then they got the other person who is, I don't care about the box art, I don't care about the instructions, I can figure it out myself, I'm going to use aftermarket decals. If that thing fits and is engineered well and the detail is good, that becomes their great kit, so it's different strokes for different folks.
Absolutely.
Probably Roy Cross has sold me more kits than anyone else. It's a box art thing. I'll give you an example. The Messerschmitt Bf 110 and the Spitfire 9 box art. Those two aircraft never met in reality, but there they are on the Dogfight double box art, and that sells kits. So
but that's a completely different thing, Barry, to what makes a great kit.
No. What I'm saying is box art sells kits.
It's true.
Doesn't matter what the kit is.
But the box art doesn't bear any relation to what's inside the box.
Right.
Correct.
The box art is just the initial pull.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you. It's the first thing that people see and they think, oh,
like a wine bottle.
I fancy a go at that, like. But I mean, if you can think back to the early 1990s, when Airfix were releasing Series 1, 2, and 3 boxes, all those kits were all released in the same size box. When you got the Scorpion tank and you open that box, it was like trying to find it.
Yeah.
Because the kit was like this big and the box was like this big.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue.
The first thing you thought was, Christ, is that it?
I mean, you could argue box art is no different to a Wonderbra.
No, you're quite right. It's like people go, you're right.
Yeah. Jack Smallboat, I built the 124th Kinetic P47, which turned out to be a decent kit once finished, but the instructions were terrible, with a lot of bits missing. And the build was mostly guesswork. But if you got the enjoyment out of it, then that's fair enough. But decent isn't great, is it?
But Kinetic do have issues with their
instructions. I think in relation to
it's not isolated to that P47.
Go on, Luke.
In relation to instructions, I think I wouldn't like to put a percentage on it, but for the vast majority of modelers, whether they be the casual weekend modeler through the windscreen in front of the TV on a dinner tray,
Yeah.
or whether they're idiots like us. I think the majority of modelers appreciate a good set of instructions, and that will absolutely contribute to whether or not that's a great kit. If we're talking about the finished article and what that looks like, well, that's down to the skill of the individual modeler. You can have the Airfix BF 109 in the hands of a less skilled modeler, shall we say, and it's going to look like a melted welly, despite the fact that it's a great kit.
Yeah.
But what will guide the vast majority of modelers is decent, well thought out, well presented instructions. And if you look at the likes of Tsukimura, they're a classic. Their instructions are, in my view, second to none. They're phenomenal, and they have been for a long, long time. So, and that enhances the enjoyment of the build.
Yeah.
Because people have the right guidance and they know what there's a photograph of the part once it's together, what it should look like, etc., etc. So people's enjoyment will be enhanced. Whereas if you've got to literally, I wouldn't say fight the kit, but if at every stage the instructions are lacking and it's a bit of guesswork and it's a bit of test and adjust and trying to figure, does that detract from the enjoyment of most modelers? Probably.
Yeah.
And Airfix are doing great things with their instructions.
Yeah, they've definitely improved over
have always
years. Because, like I said, I've been building really old baggies, and you got a single exploded diagram, and you got the text down the side saying glue part 1 to part 2, aerial part 3 goes on to fuselage part 4. So you got these pictorial modern instructions nowadays, and they're a lot easier to follow.
But then again, you probably know every single part of an aeroplane once you build it because it tells you what your
It tells you exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's a different style.
And that's missing, I'm afraid.
Well, like for ships, for example, I can tell you instructions for all brands, apart from maybe Tamiya, with the very few ships they do, tend to all be built in a completely wrong order for how you would actually do the model. Purely a lot of the time because they'll start with very random bits of superstructure, or they'll get you to build the hull and then put a random bit of superstructure on rather than build it in a linear fashion. Now, I found aircraft kits, as a general rule of thumb, I would say we've probably got to a good point in models generally, whereby all the instructions in aircraft kits generally are pretty good because you can't get them wrong, and they've all sort of merged and converged into one area. Whereas sort of like for ships, I'd also say for some cars when I have built the odd one or two, again, they're still a bit sporadic, but I think aircraft overall probably have converged the most on instructions, where very rare now you get a bad instruction set for an aircraft kit.
Yeah. Enduro Rider. Great kits have to have great engineering. If you have to guess the correct placement of parts because they did not include stepple pins or guides, it is not great. You're talking a lot of short run kits are like that, aren't they? They don't tend to come with location pins, with guides.
But then I would say some short run stuff is great kits because of the subject.
Yeah.
And I'll put up with the fact they're a bit rough and ready around the edges, but the fact that someone does that model, for example, in injection, even if it is pretty ropey, I will put up with it because it's better than trying to do resin or something.
Yes.
I think if you look at, you go to any show and you look at some finished models, and then you find out, you speak to the builder or whoever, and that's a short run garage kit or whatever of a particular subject that's not mainstream. You could argue, or I would argue, that is a great finished model. Because not only because of the subject, but the way it's been built, the way it's been painted, constructed, whether it's a great model. But is it a great kit? Probably not. but the passion of the modeler, like your Queen Elizabeth, for example, Ben, is that a great kit? Well, no, not really. But what you have done, because you've got the passion for the subject, is you've enjoyed that endlessly and turned out a good replica of the Queen Elizabeth. So, but it's not a great kit.
And that's why
a great kit is that BF 109. That's a great kit.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
that's why.
But then the Spitfire Mark 9 is a great kit.
Yeah.
You know,
the Hellcat, a great kit. The Ferret Scout Car, I would argue, is a great kit. I enjoyed every single second of it. But is it accurate? No.
See,
because of the engine grille.
It's
not accurate, but it's a great kit. Because I loved it.
But then there was that compromise again. And if you talk to Luke, who's now at the dark side, he will tell you that with Ethan, they looked at creating that grille at the back accurately, but you couldn't do it in plastic.
No.
So he ended up with those spots.
But it doesn't make it a bad kit.
No, it doesn't. Exactly.
It's still a great kit, even though accuracy is lacking in certain areas.
Yeah.
Now, if you're so inclined, you could go to Scorpion Models and you can buy the aftermarket to make it accurate.
Yeah.
But you've got your work cut out to make it.
So listening to that sounds like your great kit, Luke, is based on buildability. Whereas, as a general rule of thumb, whereas mine, for example, if it's a great kit, it would be on accuracy.
Yeah, and therefore that's why it's always so subjective, isn't it? So what you would consider a great kit, I probably wouldn't. I would say more than buildability, I'm always led by subject.
Yeah.
Always led by subject, because that's what will keep me going back to the bench. Because I have an interest in the subject rather than the actual buildability of the kit. If you can combine both, and if it's a subject you really like, and it's a great kit in the sense of buildability and accuracy and everything, then that's the jackpot. That's the holy grail.
Yeah, Miss Modler was saying about how you have to define the word great. No, I'm talking as in how we look at kits that are great. I'll tell you a great kit that's got me out of a hole when I've lost my mojo, struggling to get back to the bench. And there's one that I've got 5 copies of now. I've got 5 boxings of this. And that is the Airfix Tempest. If you want to totally remove all the crap and everything, and someone stopped you, I can't be asked going back to that kit. Build that Tempest. The instructions are fantastic. And they give you 2 really good schemes. One of them is just plain silver bare metal. One of them's camo. But the way it goes together, there's no need for any filler. But once you build it, it clears the palette, if you know what I mean.
The palette cleanser.
The palette cleanser build is that Tempest. And people say, "Oh, just build yourself a Spitfire." No, that Tempest is the one.
But then, for me, Moz, my palette cleanser is that it's the Airfix Harriers in the 72nd range.
Yeah,
I've just bought one of those, Ben.
Yeah,
I love this series of kit. I love the GR, all the new toolings from the GR1 all the way to the GR9 and both Sea Harriers.
Yeah,
I've just got a whole stack of them up there. Yeah, they go together really well. Okay, they are not the most accurate Harrier kit you're ever going to get. There are problems with them, but in terms of if I'm looking,
that people comment on around the front.
So the nose on this one's not necessarily the most accurate. I think, for example, might have been this one or the other one, they've effectively left the GR3 tail on rather than the Sea Harrier, and there's little elements, but again, you can buy third-party changes to make them completely accurate. But from a point of building and what you get, they're good. They work. It looks roughly from a distance like a Harrier, and like I say, you can buy everything to make them totally accurate. Yeah, they're a nice little size, and they're For me, I like my modern jets. So my sort of Tempest Mojo build is always going to be a 72nd Harrier generally.
I
I've
put
actually just bought the GR9, and is it the gift set they call it? It's not a starter set.
Yeah, there's like a gift set.
Gift set.
You get the paints and the glue and all that in the same box, and it's the Royal Navy Joint Strike Force Basic Cottesmore livery.
Yes, it will be
the reason I bought it, Ben, is for your SIG, so I'm going to build it and give it to you next year. That was the plan.
Yeah, but just saying, you know, I love that Ferret Scout as a Mojo build, but if you look at the kit and how it's all gone together, unless you had really clear, good instructions, I think you would struggle to build that kit. So that's what I'm saying. I think that, it's half the story. You can like for instance, that Ferret Scout. I'm just trying to imagine that being released in that old shitty plastic that Airfix used to have. Do you remember that like tinny hard plastic they used to have? Imagine
I
if they released that
before I built an Airfix kit.
Yeah, but imagine if they were still having that plastic.
Are you on about the stuff you used to get from India when they first started supplying?
Yeah, imagine that Ferret Scout then. It could have been the best, but that plastic was awful, wasn't it? When you used, when you used to rub it down, oh my word! But that's what I'm saying. It's a lot about that, isn't it? So
I think it's incredibly difficult to define great because it is so subjective. So my definition of a great kit would probably vary from everyone else here. Ben's definition of a great kit would vary from everyone else's here, mine included, and so on and so on. So it's very difficult, isn't it, to define. It's so subjective and it's so personal to the builder as to what makes a great kit. But I think if you're talking about the majority of people, good instructions, good fit, good level of accuracy, good, and all these sort of mainstays will go towards making a great kit. It's so difficult to define what that is.
I think it's more of a case of what kit would you recommend to somebody else as a good kit?
Yeah.
For me, it's a Harry. I've got.
Well, you could. It's funny that no one's really mentioned Tamiya.
No.
It's funny that not many people have mentioned Tamiya, right?
But I
would say that
I think Tamiya makes some phenomenal kits.
I only ever had one Tamiya kit and I didn't like it.
But I would say Tamiya and Airfix. Let's compare those two. Airfix way back in the 60s, Tamiya way back in the 60s are not, or 70s and 80s are not what they are today. Today they're Airfix has stepped up its game. I mean, the last 5, 6, 7 releases, they've come out with as a roundabout number have been phenomenal. Not that I have them, but from what I've seen, yes. Same with Tamiya. They started off with the KI-61 and that tan boxing, and then then their Spitfires came out, and the 109s came out, and then the F4s and the F14s and all their 32nd scale line and everything. They took a jump, just like Airfix took a jump with their past, releases. So, I think it might be a sign of the times where everybody's getting better, and that's why this is the so-called golden age of modeling.
Airfix instructions right now are absolute state of the art. For me, they're the benchmark of step by step, individual.
They're great.
Mini art, dude. You're all over the place, right? So if they try to cram so much, but
that what could be argued there too is mini art. Everybody, the parts count. They're too deep. I hate to say too detailed because we're all mostly detail freaks. We all love detail. Well, especially me. Do I get scared by part count? No, I love the detail. I'm a detail junkie. Can that be off-putting to some? Sure, absolutely. But modeling people in the 60s, if they had the crystal ball and they're looking in and they see an ICN kit that has all this detail that's coming in 35 years from now, you know, they could look into the future and see it. They'd be, wow, that's so flipping cool, you know, mind blown. And then, in fact, you get into 35 years later down the road, then it's just like, oh, it's got too many parts. Oh, it's a pain in the ass. Oh, the instructions suck, you know, and instructions can be, I mean, how the hell does this thing go together? Because there are a gazillion parts to it, you know. But I just sometimes I hate to say that we're spoiled, but in a way we are, because we have these, finally we're reaching that pinnacle, you know, and now branching off into 3D printing. I mean, it's all there right now. So, you know, it, like I said at the very beginning, it's relative to whatever one's definition, and I think we've all come to an agreement. I think it's ultimately what's the definition of great, and we've all got an opinion on what that is.
Yeah. Jinto 562 says a pilot figure is all that's needed to make a great kit. We need to make pilots in kits great again. So he's basically gone a bit MAGA on us. Make Airfix great again. But then again, I will say this. I've spent the last week trying to find a 1/24th scale pilot for a Luftwaffe, you know, Messerschmitt 109.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know,
Get time, it'll come.
It will, yeah. I'm just waiting for one, because at the moment they're as rare as rocking horse shit. You know, I've tried everywhere trying to find.
I mean, the kit's been out a month. It'll come. Just give it some time.
Yeah. We need one. Not 1/24th, not 1/24th.
Oh no, the 32nd, aren't they?
1/32nd.
Who are the 3D printing people who do you like? They can scan you, whatever. They were at Telford.
Yeah, 3D Gizmo. I've asked them.
No, not free. There's another one. There's another one.
They've got the scanner and you can scan yourself, can't you?
That's the one, yeah, because they do the whole range, and they had some 24th ones at Telford, both British and American and German aircrew.
Yeah.
The Tamiya Mark 1 Spitfires, everything in the box, masks, belts, and the lights. Yeah, that's a great kit. I think when people talk about a 148 Spitfire Mark 1, Tamiya have set the standard on that. I think, you know, if you want to go and watch somebody build it to the nth degree, watch, what's he called on? He's got like 1 million subscribers now. I think it's called now. It was at Telford last year. Oh, Czech guy. What's he called?
Plasmo.
Yeah, Plasmo. He did one brilliant build. Can't knock it. Fantastic. I actually find the actual instructions a bit overwrought. One diagram to show one part being glued to another. I miss the old instruction, which included a name and a description of the parts. Yeah, but I think you got a point in that. But also, the reason why Airfix do that is because they are trying to hit other markets, and that's where did instructions? They're not available. You know, I think you could do it now, because they have done in this one. They've put reasons why they've done certain. You know, they've got all the names here. You know, in the diagrams. You know, gun sight, socket, oil, coolant, temp gauge, fuel gauge, blah blah blah. But I think that's because now we're at a point in time where we can now scan on our phones and Google Translate what's on the page. So I think you'll find that it will come to a point where even now I've got a Bandai kit. There's Chinese instructions or Japanese instructions, and I've had to use Google Translate, and it isn't quite perfect, but it's almost there. And I think that will come in time where I think Airfix and Revell and the like will start going, you know, English is the main language, but we can also sort of have English and German. And I think that was to do in the Chinese companies as well. You'll probably find that they'll add a little bit more to it, because we can now readily translate words without getting the Collins gem of German English.
Terribly facetious here. Are people who build models going to have phones that translate?
Oh yeah,
eventually.
Yeah, I think everyone does.
I think
when I get one, I'll send you a postcard.
Mind is so take the 109 as an example, because we've talked about that a lot.
Thanks, Nigel. When you coming on anyway, Nigel?
Yeah.
if you gave that 109 to someone that's never ever built a scale model, gave it to them as a gift and said, put that together, without comprehensive instructions that are literally step by step showing what goes where and how, they're going to really struggle. Whereas perhaps if you've been in the hobby for a while, you could probably fudge your way through it with the old style instructions and you could still turn out a decent model at the end of it because you've got the experience of knowing how things go together, what it should vaguely look like, etc., etc. So from a manufacturer's point of view, they need to continue to up their game with their instructions and make them, was the word overwrought used, and do that, because if they don't, then they run the risk of alienating a large proportion of new customers. So they need to do that. I think it's important.
I made the comment earlier about, what's a great kit? Oh, who cares about instructions? We can figure it out. Well, yeah, if you're a seasoned modeler, and what Luke was just saying, the Airfix can't look at it that way, that they're only targeting the seasoned modeler. They're trying to target everybody because they want to sell as many of these things as they can. So,
and I think what backs up Luke completely on this point is look at the latest release of the Mark 9 Spitfire, the Flying Dray. That's with the mug and with everything. That's aimed as a gift, not necessarily straight at modelers, because that sort of could be a Father's Day gift, a Christmas
That's a great
gift
for Dad at Christmas, isn't it?
Yeah, and so you need those instructions. If he is going to build that on the coffee table or whatever, or on the tray, because he's not a seasoned modeler, he's going to need that step by step.
Yeah.
And Daryl Modeler had a great comment that right before, if you want to having 1/12 scale Tamiya car kits, out of the box. I mean, and for somebody that's new, they get this and it's like, wow, and it really goes together. That sets the hook. You get them into the hobby, and then before you know it, they're buying another $500 worth of aftermarket that can now go with that 12 scale Tamiya car kit, because there's a gazillion things out there for it.
As another thing, I was going to say was, you're talking about the gift sets and stuff. Yeah, that's what it is. But remember, that Artemis, even though it's a gift set, it's a skill level 3. So you've got to have some nonce about you to do that sort of thing, to get your head around how to build a kit. But then again, the instructions in that Artemis kit are very, very step through, are very, very involved. So you know what you're doing step by step. Then the only bit I'll have trouble with is doing that grate underneath, the just underneath the capsule. That looks a bit tricky on the instructions, but I think if you look at it carefully, you'll get there. Just a shame they give you that crappy cement, isn't it, inside the box? They have a tub of decent liquid cement. So, yeah. You're saying, Ben?
No, I was just going to say, I think, like with all these things, is that when people are going to get bought these gifts, let's bear in mind that probably the people, the mum, the dad, the wife, whoever, the husband's going to buy these kits for, they probably know the person it's for is generally quite model-minded in some way, or they have an interest. So it doesn't have to be for completely new, like they've never had an interest necessarily, because I'd argue that's bad at buying presents, if so. But in terms of, they need to have a holding hand, essentially. Is the basis of it.
I mean, for example, I would argue, and I think Ben's absolutely right. So if someone has on their list of things to do before they die is to fly in a Spitfire, well, you can do that, can't you? You can pay. I know it's not cheap, but you can pay, and it's a once in a lifetime opportunity to go up in a Spitfire, and it is a thing. Well, Airfix, if they had their Mark 9 24 scale kit retailing at $99.99 on sale at the end point of the person that's just been up in a Spitfire, they're going to buy it.
Yeah.
They are going to buy it because that will be an everlasting memento of their day. They may not be a modeler, but if the instructions are good and the fit's good and everything else is good, they're going to have endless hours of fun putting that together. And it doesn't then matter to the manufacturer, does it?
No.
Because they've sold the kit. You know?
They could get a very similar Mark 8 right now for 60 quid. Now
that's true.
That's
or for example, the TR9. I know that I'm trying to think. Is it Bolt Be Down at Goodwood? I think it is. They're actually selling the TR9 with the Hannon's decal set in the shop. I was told by someone, because the Hannon's decal set actually comes with the Spitfire from Chichester. So you are literally going to get this kit you can take with the Spitfire you possibly could have flown in, or one of the ones based there. So and that's what I think the retail's 30-something quid for the TR9. So like you say, Luke, 99 quid is a drop in the ocean compared to what they've just paid. So let's say 40 quid with the decal. That's just, it's a license to print money.
That's the reason why I thought that the Mark 9 TR, or the TR Mark 9, was such a bloody good idea, because you can do $4,000 worth of wallet hoovering for a 35-minute flight. And then you've got something you can build, or maybe have somebody build if you wanted, and you've got that memento for all of time.
Forever.
And it is a lovely kit. That it's a very good representation of I think it's the Vickers Mark 8 conversion. So it's a cracking piece of kit. It's lovely inside. They've done it really nicely for a 1/48th kit. And away you go. You know, what a good idea that was. What a bloody good idea. I think that makes it a great kit.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
No question.
I just want to jump on some of the chats that I've started. But first off, it was Travis, does the Airfix 109 come with belt? Yes, it does, which I've fitted to it. So, but they're molded separately, and you just paint them up and I'll go big so you can see it.
Or you could do what I'm going to do and get some HDW ones.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm a bit unsure about this here, because I've done the top here and you can see that I've not put it flush. I've let it because it kind of fits nicely there. So whether that's supposed to be sticking out a little bit, I don't know. So I may have to go back to that. Somebody said it should be pushed right in, but I didn't want to force it in. So that's why mine's overhanging just a little bit there. So I didn't want to force it in, but apparently it should go inside. So, but it's ignore that. So I'll have to look at that later. But yeah, that's the, it does come with that. So there's the only thing that doesn't come with is a pilot. And I know the Meteor comes with the pilot, but 1/32nd scale pilots are totally different to a 1/24 scale pilot. You know, imagine the amount of work they'd have to get into getting that done, you know, but that's Airfix's choice. Paul Dye says, whether it's a problem with the molding or a problem with the packing, it's still a problem, and not one I personally would expect from a kit costing £100. Yeah, I can't say I can't argue with that. I just can't argue with that. But I'll tell you what, if that was a Tamiya kit, that would be £150, £160 for them easily. I'm just saying, you know. Are any of the Wingnut Wings kits considered a great model? I wish Nigel was on here because he's
Wingnut Wings, when they came out, what I found, and I think what a lot of other guys and gals found out, was that one, it was such a unique niche. I mean, World War I aircraft. Well, one, nobody had produced kits to that quality and that detail in that scale ever. And whatever World War I kits you could get usually were more 48 scale or smaller. There were some offerings. Rodin, I think, maybe. Anyway.
Yeah, Rodin did a few.
Wing came on. They blasted everybody out of the water with subject, with quality, with engineering, with it was the whole gamut. I don't build World War I aircraft. I'm not big into biplanes. It's just, it's for the old guys, even though I'm an old guy. You know, for the really old guys, right? I've got two sitting on my shelf just because they're so flipping cool, you know? So
I'm going to be controversial and say they're overrated.
no,
Oh,
I really don't.
how are you, Nigel?
Here's a testament to their quality. People, I mean, when you would see a big World War One biplane on a table at a contest, it was usually like, wow, that was either scratch built or there's just a whole ton of work into it. And now people see all these World War One aircraft kits and they'll go, what's the big deal? It's only a wing nut wing kit. Anybody can build those because they're so well engineered, and anybody can do that. It's taken the mystique away of those larger scale scratch built anything. But whenever you saw that big World War One kit, you knew it was something. Now it's just like, well, what's the big deal? It's just a beautiful, great wing nut wing kit.
I won't say they're over. What did you say they were? You think they were?
I said they're overrated.
I think they're fucking overpriced now, though, aren't they? Crumb.
No, but I think that's what part of makes it overrated. It is the price they go for.
Market,
and again,
baby,
this is where it's subjective to what we think is a great kit. I think it's a great technical achievement what they did with the tooling and how they build. However, I would say that they're quite overhyped because they do make a great kit, but to get it to the standards that you pay for those kit, you have to be a pretty great modeler. Because I have seen some people use wing nut wing kits, and they've paid a lot of money for them, and you go, oh, not that you tell them to their face, but you would go, that's wing nut wings. Hey, that's a lot of money to spend on that.
You are so
there's definitely two different ways to look at it, but that goes with any model. With any modeler, a newbie modeler is not going to be able to do what a seasoned modeler can with any kit, be it of low quality or high quality.
But then this is the thing of a great kit is like with the 109, the buildability of it at all levels apart from really obvious starter is pretty good. Whereas you give someone the wing nut wings,
I disagree. I've seen.
Would you give it as a Father's Day present? Could someone interested build it?
It's a great kit. Is a great kit is it a kit? It's the kit. It's not the modeler or what the modeler does with it. Either they're good or they're bad. Okay, wing nut wing is a great kit by all the normal standards that we all use. Great instructions, okay, box art, whatever, decals, fit, engineering, texture, detail, everything is there. You hand that wing nut wing kit to a newbie modeler, regardless of age, they're probably going to struggle.
I'm just going to quickly jump in because Paul Dye's come back to me and said, yes, but if it was a Tamiya kit, there wouldn't be such lousy quality issues. Potatoes, mate. We're talking about pricing here. And if Tamiya kit was $160 and the Airfix kit is £100, so you're saying you rather spend that 60 quid more and the quality would always be there. And I will assure you that quality is not always there with Tamiya. And I think this is the thing that I'm gonna just put out there is that Airfix sell majority of their kits in the UK. A big portion of their first releases go there. And so any errors will be picked up in this country. When it comes to Tamiya stuff, I've heard people say there's been short on that recent F-35B. The 148th ambulance was full of sink. You can look at Nigel's for that one. And what was the other kit? Somebody was mentioning that the barrels were deformed on the Hotchkiss, I think it was. Somebody had a deformed.
I think, to be honest, these comments, they are the genuinely held opinions of individuals that contribute here, and thank you for doing so. It's not my place to say, of course, but they attempt to display a general garment where there isn't one. And what I mean by that is, if, I don't know, Bloggins modeling company, shall we say, get 1% of their output wrong, short shots, warped things, bits missing, blah, 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 blah. Well, that by definition means they get 99% of it right. Well done, Bloggins models. And to attempt to generalize when a company has got 1% of its output wrong isn't really all that fair. Please cut my head off if you disagree. No, don't do something that would just.
No. I've got to agree with you. I'm going to be more blunt. I don't think it's an issue, and I'm quite happy to criticize Airfix when they get it wrong. But this just seems like a packing issue where it packed too tightly. It has nothing to do with the quality control of the model, generally speaking, because is what seems to be proved. You could take it out the bag, let it decompress, and then, funny enough, it goes back to the form it was because it's been injected correctly. It's been molded correctly. If it was molded incorrectly, it wouldn't flex back to the correct shape. It would be wrong. So I think it's a packing issue. Okay, the changes they could make is don't pack it so tight, or do split bags, because Tamiya, for example, do split bags individually. So that maybe could be a learning point. But in terms of making this particular issue, this is not a massive issue in terms of quality control. A massive issue is when you put the wrong fuselage in a kit. When you get a slight mismatch, when you have two wings that are pushed together. I wasn't going to name it, but yeah, the Jaguar, they got that wrong. That's where you point and go, that's wrong. However, two wings that have just been slightly compressed in the packing, and all you have to do is take it out, place it on your bench, and it will pop back. Stop your moaning. Crack on, get on with it, build your model.
Yeah, but Ben, the wrong fuselage in a kit isn't isolated to Airfix. As I said last week,
that's the major balls up you can call out for the fact that that's gone through so many hands.
I've got an IL-62 in a TU-154 box.
Yeah, I mean, the only fix for these wings is bag them separately and don't compress the pack down so much. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
But the model is not mismolded. That's not a quality control issue.
No, I think
packing.
I think Airfix have done a blind. I've mentioned this to Moss before. I think Airfix have played a blinder with this particular kit because it goes so well with their previous release. It's just a blinder.
Yeah. And as I said, you know, when I put that article out last week, and I said, you know, people are saying about the BF-109, there's issues with it, and there was issues with the Stalwart when they came out. Hang on a minute. India's played a blinder. I haven't seen anybody complain that there was an issue with their Jaguar, the Buccaneer, the Gannet, the Sea King. No. You know, or there was, I think Alex had a short on his Sea King. But, but when you go back, you know, and they said, and they said, well, when they look through, when they say, oh, you know, how many complaints have you had this week? We've had three complaints, or something was wrong with their kit. It was just unfortunate, and I just think that it was over dramatized, and everybody then said, oh, this is and it went down the chain, and everybody had the fear on of buying it. So when I put my article out, somebody wrote and said a little bit of warpage because of the sprue, where the sprue gate was, you know, the fence. But everyone else on that comment said, got mine, not a problem with my BF1, and I can't wait to build it. Or it's going away now. I've checked it because I was warned to, been absolutely fine. Now it's going away because the wife's going to give it to me for a Christmas present. The amount of comments I had underneath, and Airfix looked at those comments, and they were saying there's only one comment that said, "Oh, he had a bit of warpage, but it was, you know, it will, you know, because of the way the plastic is, it will go together fine." So you understand, you know, it was a little bit of baiting, I think, but you know, that's not for me to judge. That's up for other people. And as I said, you know, mine was absolutely fine. So I think it was just a bit blown out. But going back to the comments, everyone's talking about border instructions terrible, but wing nut wings is the is the answer when it comes to instruction. Wing nut wings and kits, etc. Building a Qatari Spitfire Mark 5A at this moment, the whole experience from the build to the instruction and the quality on a very much top tier, in my opinion. I put out there that kit without an engine was it 85-90 pounds when it was released?
Oh wow. Yeah.
That Qatari kit.
85.
Buy the Airfix 124 scale with an engine for £94.99 when it first released. Yeah. I'm putting it up there. You know, if you want to,
again, that comes down to the subjectivity of the consumer, doesn't it?
Yeah, what I'm trying to get at.
If price is a factor,
Yeah.
then they're much more likely to lean towards the 24 scale Airfix kit because it's bigger.
Value for money.
Their perception is they're getting more for the money because it's got an engine.
Mm.
Whereas perhaps the more discerning modeler, looking at Zinzan, will lean towards the Qatari because the quality is. I don't want to use the word better because it is subjective, but Zinzan's built that Qatari Spitfire. The build and what it is and the entire package kind of speaks for itself.
Oh, it does, no question about that. And I have to say, I had to think about, whilst you were talking about that, why did I get the Qatari? I thought because it had there was a pedigree behind the company, and that just appealed to me. And I it's one of those things that it's completely just in here. I thought, yeah, tap tap tap, I'll buy that. Job done. And then when I got it, it was everything I thought it would be, and I was prepared to be balanced about it, but it was brilliant. And the only things that went wrong were the things that I messed up. Watch the video series and you'll see. But it was wonderfully done. And like I said, I judge it on, would I get another one? Well, yes, I did. I got the Mark 1 early, which is effectively the same kit, except that it's got the Watts two-bladed wood propeller and the flat canopy. And you can do all sorts of things with that, but it'll be just the same when I come to build it. When I come to do it, it'll be just the same amount of excitement, if you like, as doing the first one. There won't be any difference.
So for you, the Qatari is a great kit.
Yeah, absolutely. If someone said to me, "Oh, what would I recommend? What would I do?" Well, no kit collection, shall we put it like that, should be without a Spitfire. Well, at least one or two of them. Let's put it like this. Mark 1, the Mark 5, maybe a Mark 9 or maybe a Mark 8, something like that. Perhaps a Mark 14. But you should have something along the line. But if you want, of them all, I'd go for that Mark 1. Because it was ace. It was brilliant.
I was just going to point out was I totally get all that with Qatari, and that's my thing. When you build the Spitfire Mark 9 Airfix, the 124th one, the instructions are concise to the point, and you will build that kit, not a problem. The instructions are very, very good. So, and they say, Qatari instructions are fabulous, but does it still not get you to the point where the kit's built? What added value is it in those instructions that make it an £85 kit, or you pay a tenner more and get a 1/24 scale?
I'm going to sound like one of those.
The value there is to you.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yes, the instructions will get you from step 1 to whatever step to the end to a constructed Spitfire. They will do that. But
what does it do?
The value is what it's worth to the individual. That's like saying, I could drive my Fiesta. I don't have a Fiesta, but you could drive a Fiesta to Cornwall. It will still get you there, but you could also drive a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
I think one of the things as well with
it'll break down halfway there.
Different way.
You can't afford the wheel nuts on one of those.
No, very true. I think the thing is, Qatari and Airfix though are aiming at two different parts of the market with their offerings. And again, this, like in my day job, I do procurement, and we have different evaluation criteria. We have technical, commercial, and then there's like qualitative. So you could split this into, if you were doing a technical evaluation of both models from an accuracy point of view, Qatari is the more likely to be uncompromised. It will be every technical detail. If that Spitfire had it, it will be on the model. Whereas Airfix may have to make design choices within their model to fit the price point, to fit the size of the model and the tooling that they have.
Yes.
So if you are wanting all-out accuracy, a bit like Wingnut Wings, you want the most accurate model you can get, you would go with Qatari and you would take the compromise. It's slightly smaller. However, if you want grandeur of scale and you don't mind losing some detailed assets to make it bigger and to have more with it, you can build the engine, for example, so you gain that detail. You go with the Airfix one, and again, it's all down to
one isn't
people.
accurate.
I don't think it will be as accurate as a Qatari one because there will have to be design choices made, and I genuinely don't think there will, because I think probably the tooling for a 30-second cockpit, let's say, the 24th will be pretty good, but I'm sure you will find the Qatari is fractionally more accurate because of just the detail they'll put into the tooling, and hence, again, that's why Qatari have sort of carried on the lineage of wingnut wings. It's uncompromising detail, therefore you pay that price at that size. Because I'm sure if they did a 24 scale, you'd probably be looking at maybe £200, £180, so nearly double the price of the Airfix, but you would get that uncompromising detail. And I think that's, again, in the idea of a great kit, it's people's assessment around the price, complexity, accuracy. They make their own judgment somewhere in that triangle. What is a great kit for them?
It's two different manufacturers shooting at two different markets. Airfix is trying to do the shotgun approach and appeal to everybody. Qatari is a smaller company that has to be very selective of subject because they're shooting for the higher end modeler that's been doing it a while, and they're trying to fill that niche of what that segment of the market's looking for. I mean, the guys and gals that have been doing it for a long time, and they want a certain mark, and they're willing to pay for it, and they have to hit on each one because they're a small company. Airfix, could absorb a little bit, maybe. I mean, no company wants to lose money, but because their market is so big that they're trying to appeal to, if they don't sell quite as many as they hope to, it's not like they're going to pull the plug. Whereas, Qatari has to be pretty darn sure of every single release.
I mean, I describe it like a car. They're both SUVs. Qatari are doing a Lamborghini SUV, whereas Airfix are doing an Audi SUV. The Audi is really, really good for most things, but people would probably take a Lamborghini if they could, or if they wanted the detail.
Sorry, can I just jump in there? Because Nigel made a point, and he can die on this hill. And I'm not comparing Qatari manual to an Airfix instruction. Please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is at the end of the day, you're looking at instructions, and whether you read it through a Qatari or through an Airfix, you start at step 1 to step 250, and at the end of it, you get a model kit with the paint call outs, where you put the decals, where the bit go. And I agree, if you want a full research novel, then maybe Qatari is the answer for you. But you're also paying, I think, an extra 20 quid for that booklet that comes with it. Be honest, I think that Qatari kit in 1/32 scale with no engine should be around the £60-70 mark, not the 80.
No.
You don't think so? You think it should be up there?
Yeah.
It's a high-end product. It's a high-end product.
It's a higher quality product.
It's what you would call authentically
a premium product. So therefore, it will attract a premium price.
But would you say that with Tamiya then was a premium product, and their pricing is higher than? It's not. It's just as expensive as a Tamiya 1/32 scale kit.
I would say a Tamiya 32nd scale kit is a premium product.
Yeah.
But you're not saying a 1/24 Airfix one is a premium product.
Not
premium,
as much.
It's premium for Airfix.
Yes. It's not a Tamiya kit. It's not a Qatari.
Well, I'm playing devil's advocate here, so carry on.
It's premium for Airfix, and I have all of their 24 scale kits, new ones, without the Mosquito. I don't have the Mosquito, but every other 24 scale kit that they've released, including the Hellcat, I have, and I have no complaints at all. And Kira on the channel, I'm in the middle of moving house. It's a fucking nightmare. But so I'm not at the bench building. But once the new modeling studio is set up, I will be releasing videos on the channel over the next 2 years, probably, which I'm calling Project 24. And it will be video builds of every Airfix 24 scale kit.
Nice.
And then eventually what will happen is on the club stands, there will be, with the exception of the Mosquito, unless another member builds that, there will be every Airfix 24 scale kit built. However, I would not compare it to the Qatari Spitfire. I wouldn't compare it to a Wingnut Wingers kit. I wouldn't compare them to a Zukimura Horton. I just wouldn't, because they're totally, you're not comparing eggs with eggs.
Yeah.
For Airfix, their 24 scale range, their recent toolings are premium products for Airfix.
Yeah.
But if Qatari were going to do a 24 scale Spitfire, it would be double the price of the Airfix one.
It'd be a couple £100, right?
But would it be better? I would argue, yes.
And I agree with you on this, Luke. And I think the thing Airfix will always struggle with, they will be premium products, but would they be the authoritative model overall? I don't think they ever would be, because, for example, like if Tamiya do a model, if they release, like let's say the F35, their F35 will be the most accurate, probably be the best model on the block. Now the Airfix gift set is very, very good, but it doesn't touch the size of the Tamiya one when you compare the two. And a bit like Qatari now, it seems, in that 30-second Second World War Warbird era, they even seem to be superseding Tamiya. So they are if Qatari bring it out, that is the authoritative model kit that everyone else now has to either replace, or they will always be under them. And I think that's the natural order. I mean, Airfix could do it, but I don't think it sits in their business model to do an outright authoritative model of the best one ever. That's the most accurate, the most detailed, because it's not their business type. It's not the market they're looking at doing.
I think that's a bit unfair.
No, because you're viewing it as a criticism of Airfix.
No, I'm not actually.
And it's not a criticism.
I'm not because I'm struggling with that thought, saying that because you brought up the F35, but that's a starter set. They went with a shape and designed that to be under 20 quid. And I've heard people say that the Italeri one is better than the Tamiya one when it comes to accuracy.
It's the same kit in 70 seconds.
It's not 48 though, is it?
No, but the 70 seconds, isn't it?
No, 30 seconds, there's two different tools now.
Then maybe now, but the one I built for you, Ben, is the same as the Tamiya kit.
Yeah, so that was the Tamiya's first boxing. Yes, it was. Yeah, they reboxed the Tamiya.
Put those two models side by side. So the Airfix one, which is 70-second scale, which is not a bad build.
No, it's a great build. I loved it. It's a great little kit.
Built it. No one's saying it's bad, but if you put them side by side, it doesn't take that much of an experienced model or someone that knows about the F-35 to see that the more expensive kit is better than the starter set. However, Airfix weren't aiming their starter set at that market. They were aiming it at the air show kind of market. Someone's seen F-35 do it, vertical takeoff, and their 8-year-old wants one. So they'll get one for less than 20 quid, everything in the box, bash it together, job done. It's not eggs with eggs, but it's not a criticism of Airfix starter set.
No.
It's a great kit at the price point, but it's not the authoritative model. And I don't think Airfix will ever produce an authoritative model of any subject because they are aiming at a price point. And when a manufacturer is trying to produce an authoritative model, I would imagine that quite quickly that budget gets quite large, quite quickly, because they want to produce the best Spitfire in 24 scale. The authoritative model. That's not Airfix's business model. But does it mean their 24 skit scale kit for 100 quid is bad. No, absolutely not.
So, but what I'm trying to get at is that but let's say they're Wessex, they've just brought out, right? Is that not the most accurate Wessex that's on the market in 1/72 scale?
Yeah,
In
it certainly is.
72nd scale, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can say the Supermarine Spitfire Mark 9E in 148 is the most accurate Spitfire in 148 in that
So
Mark
if you're
9E.
sticking to scales,
Yeah, because
Moz,
Qatari and those premium manufacturers, Zukimura, haven't done it.
yeah. So if you're sticking specifically to scales, I would say then Airfix can produce an authoritative model, be it, for example, their Lancaster. That is the neutral Lancaster. That's an excellent kit in 72nd. However, if you're going for the authoritative Lancaster, most would argue that's the border model, even if there are issues with instructions and that. Yeah.
I thought
And
it
it's
was
like that's the thing. Airfix is not going to produce a super kit, as they call it, their 24th range, that it's going to be the best model of that ever. And I think that's just the issue they're always going to have. When it comes to individual scales, I think it's achievable.
If you're talking about scale, well, Airfix do a lot of aircraft. That's what they're known for predominantly, is aircraft. So they'll produce subjects in certain scales that no one else has done. So you could argue that in that scale, that is the authoritative model because it may be the only one. But if so, in 72nd scale, for example, so that Tempest that is a great kit.
Yeah.
As it stands currently, you could argue that's the authoritative model of that aircraft in that scale. But what happens if all of a sudden armor models go, I think we'll do a Tempest and we'll produce the best 72nd scale Tempest on the market? It will be a lot more expensive than the Airfix kit, but that will be the authoritative model. It's just that, but they just haven't done it, and that's the issue that will always exist. But as someone said in the chat, what a great position we're in as modelers, to be able to argue the smallest thing about what's available and how lucky are we as consumers to have that amount of choice.
Yeah. Oh no. As I said, I try to play devil's advocate tonight with this because I think it's right when they were saying surely a great kit is what logos on the box to a lot of modelers, and sometimes I just feel that for me a great kit is something that I don't need to fill, that comes out of the box easy, that I can build and I can spend my time painting it up, weathering it up. The painful bit for me is the build. You know what I mean? And then the next bit.
Oh, that's a bit I like.
Yeah, I know.
Even like
Because
filler.
I'm an assembler. Here you go. I'm an assembler, not a scale model. But you know what I mean?
That's not where I was going.
I've gone past shit kits where I've got to really work at them to get. I've gone past that. I just want to relax now with the build, not get the frigging flexi card out and spend hours there.
That's half the fun of it.
Yeah, but that's
the best thing.
Yeah,
that was the old school.
Tolerance upon filler.
I know. I just can't be after it. But if you ask a lot of the older scale modelers, they all say the same. They all
Moss, if starter kits came out in the 70s, they'd have come with a tube of filler.
Yeah.
Yeah, just look at the Airfix.
Because you needed it.
And that's why what is a great kit will always be so subjective.
Yeah.
Filler!
Yeah. Because
it's the worst as well.
I'm exactly like you, Maz. If I've got to start filling, sanding, re-scribing, re-riveting and all that bollocks, I will do it if the subject drives me to do it.
Yeah.
But if there's an option of not, then I'm not going to do it. And I'm willing to pay not to have to.
Also, can I just also point out that very careful what you mean by cottage company and everything, right? I don't think people realise how small the Airfix team is compared to others. I want to lay that on. 3 designers, 2 researchers.
Yeah.
You got head of brand. Within the company, within the Hornby branding, I think if I'm right, it's a team of 9, maybe 8 now. 3 of them are designers. One of them's a full-time researcher. They've got social media marketing. Dale, it's a small team. You've got a graphics designer as well now. But yeah, it's and then you've got the likes of companies like Revell, got mass. You can bear down to like Luke is in charge of space and aircraft in it, and they got somebody who's in charge of tractors and trucks, and somebody who does their 3D. It's that sort of realm.
Well, I think all model companies are small, medium enterprises. Don't think there's any that are bigger than that.
Well, the SME is an appellation given to companies who turn over less than £50 million. SME. It's not anything to do with the size of how many people they employ or how big the building they live in is. It's just their turnover.
And Ned Libby is saying Airfix have a multi-million-pound finance. Do they?
Yes, they do. They're backed by Hornby. But Kotare is just 5 guys.
Yeah.
One happens to be I think he's a veterinarian, and he's the one bankrolling all this. And so they have to hit. They have to produce a winner because that's going to roll into their next next venture. Okay. Whereas their markets, so they're to hit, they have to hit, and they've got their reticule right on a certain niche of the market. They're not shooting like Airfixes with the shotgun. They're pinpointing. Okay,
but
so
my point was is that the Hornby group is vast than just Airfix. You've got the scale electrics, you've got the trains, you've got the whole Warlord game. It's a massive.
It's fair to say that Airfix are part of a very large multi-million-pound company, but that does not mean that they make losses. They are self-financing from a profit point of view. They have to be, otherwise they wouldn't trade anymore. Really,
how do they make their profit? They appeal to the masses. That's their.
They're a volume seller. I merely observe that companies like Airfix have to make a profit, which means they have to sell product for profit.
So for someone that knows nothing about business, private enterprise or whatever, so what happens if, like happened with the Jaguar, the 72nd Jaguar, not the 48. So a mistake is made somewhere along the line, or from a company that is part of a bigger group, and that doesn't generate a profit. Chances are it probably caused a bit of a loss. Does that get absorbed easier than perhaps a company like Atari? Does it get absorbed by the group? Well, you fuck that up, don't fuck the next one up.
No,
is that
this is let's put it like this. Think of it this way. Qatari are gambling with all of their stack. Airfix are gambling with a part of theirs.
Got it.
And it also depends how the budget is set up as well. If it's from Hornby Central, or do they have to work within their own budgets in their own team, and it doesn't go back into a central pot at the end of the year?
Yeah, in terms of companies like Hornby and their subdivisions, no one company is responsible for the profit or loss-making activities of another part of that business.
So they won't like do the other company a favor and say, well, we've had a good year, yours not so much, never mind.
No, because the auditors don't like that kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, listen, people, I've heard it said on YouTube, people have gone through the books of Hornby and said, oh, they made a loss. Actually, they've made big investments in their hardware and their software, but I think people don't forget that the Oxford die-cast saga was draining them of money, and they've got rid of that now. That's gone. So, and you've got to remember that the parts of the business that were not profitable, were actually hemorrhaging cash, have now gone. So you can look at those books and say, oh, you know, Hornby's in trouble because they lost such and such. Hang on a minute, no, they've invested very heavily.
I think it's fair to say though that Airfix, we can all pretty much say hand on heart, is not the part. If any part was to lose money, it certainly ain't going to be Airfix.
Airfix, all the trains.
I think Airfix is probably doing, compared to other parts, possibly, won't name them, you know, could be, might not be for legal reasons, etc. Going great guns compared to other sections of the business.
Yeah.
And again, I think at the minute it's gone back to being private. I think it's been taken off the stock exchange. I want to say.
Yeah, they've all gone back to private. Yeah, because you know that's what I mean. That when people were looking at all the figures and that, they were misconstruing it in such a way. And I asked the questions, I got given answers. I can't share a lot, you know, because you know it's private really, and how a business runs. But at the end of the day, you know, there were things that happened in the business that made it look a little bit bad on their books. But that isn't the answer, you know, of leaving America and stuff. No, they've just changed tack and they're going for it big style by getting distributors in, if you know what I mean. It's all the clothing. They're not leaving. There's nowhere near leaving America. In fact, they've got one distribution center, which was their own. They've got rid of that, and now they've got 8 on board that are willing to bring the product into the country.
In the commercial world, we call that restructuring and reducing our liabilities.
Exactly.
So what people tend to do, and it is a mistake, is to look at accounts and get the microscope out and study, you know, one tiny bit of it, and that's an incorrect way of looking at P&L, because P&L, as regards company performance, extends across a number of years. And something that may happen in one year that might show, if you looked at this with a microscope or a magnifying glass, that might make the company look bad, will, across the context of several years, be realized to be a very good thing. The other thing is that looking at the accounts, you have to be very careful that you're looking at the accounts of an individual organization and not those of the top co. In other words, the entity that owns the business, because you'll get a very different picture. And this is particularly the case when you start to look at companies that are in share ownership, because on the stock market, they may register themselves as a top co, let's say Bloggins Modeling, and they might call themselves Bloggins Modeling PLC. And then connected to that top co will be another organization called Bloggins Models. Now, Bloggins Modeling PLC may lend money to Bloggins Models, which will make it look really awful in terms of the top co accounts, because they appear to have lost a lot of money. But if you look at that across a number of years, what you will find is that money will be recovered back to them maybe in the next financial year. So you have to be very careful when you look at accounts that you're getting the whole picture. And really, the only people who know what's going on at Airfix, as Moss has very correctly pointed out, is the top co, and they ain't telling anybody. So we're just making guesses here.
Funny how the show always goes down to the Airfix business model and structure. The problem is, mate, is that there's so much shit put out there that, you know, and sometimes it just feels that it's not
uninformed. It's uninformed,
right? You know, and that's just why we bring it up, you know, because people, you know, we've seen it on videos. Oh, this is happening. This is happening.
Just keep getting poked. Yeah,
exactly. And so we do talk about these things because, you know, if we're in Germany and we had this closeness been with Revell, we'll be talking about this sort of thing. I bet in the Czech Republic they're talking about Edard the same way as we will talk about Airfix, because it's a UK brand. But we have to look at, and you know, that You know, people think they're business heads, and it's not all as black and white as people think it is. You know, it doesn't. I think people make a judgment too bloody quick, is what Zinzad's saying. But you know, at the end of the day, if you look at my video about the history of Airfix, or I'll tell you what, it was my 3 great changes of Airfix. And if you look at when Hornby first took over Airfix, you know, was it 2006 to 2010? I think they they took over 2006, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Between 2006 and 2015, they released over 100 new tools. 100.
Yeah.
Imagine that. The
crazy
investment in
It's a big
Airfix.
capital investment.
It was huge.
Yeah.
What they put, Crumbs, I think it was 6 Spitfires in that time as well.
But they actually retooled 50 kits in 7 years.
Yeah.
50 kits in 7 years. That's old tool kits that are tired out. They've just replaced them with new tool kits. I think that's absolutely astonishing.
You know, and they're still banging out. They're still banging out 6 a year between. You know, I think it won't be so much this year, but you know, it is what it is. So when the people are moaning that they release another Spitfire Mark 9, remember that what they've made the money on that has probably gone towards the Stalwart.
I think the thing to bear in mind as well, Moz, is that the reason why we also, you know, we try and correct the record is because there's a bit of responsibility of, if we're putting stuff out on the internet, it has to have some sort of basis of truth and some, you know, plaudit to reality. And I think that's what we try to do here. But also, sort of like you say, if people do make the jokes about the Spitfires and that, most people in the hobby simply see it as a hobby. They don't care about the business behind it. And to get your exciting Wessex or your, you know, slightly more specialized kits, you still have to do the mass market, and Airfix does mass market well, you know, and
that's their job.
Like you say, if you think from 2006 onwards, how has Hornby rebuilt that brand in what will be the 20th anniversary of ownership next year?
Yeah,
they have rebuilt it from, let's be honest, a company that was very broke on its bare bones after splitting from Hella, and now it's on its own, and it is probably the leading brand under the Hornby name. And I would argue in taking over even Hornby Trains section as the leading brand for, you know, reputation of quality and for, you know, in a area. So as much as Hornby has faults as an overarching and Airfix has faults, I'd say they've done a bloody good job in 20 years of creating a brand that probably sits in the top 5 in the world.
Yeah.
Airfix is a great company, but why harp on about that all the time? There are other topics. Hang on a minute. We've been talking about Qatari for half the evening, so I don't know where you're getting that from. Honestly, it's because Airfix is a UK always, and I hate it. We always end up back on Airfix, but Airfix is the standard we look at to judge everything else because we're English, and Airfix is the closest brand we have in this country and that's what it's all about. Everybody in this country in the UK, and I'm pretty sure if you look at the Americans, they'll probably talk about their kit. If you go to Europe, I'm just saying, you know, I bet in Australia all they ever talk about is Qatari. You know what I mean?
You see this.
Japan will be Tamiya. Japan will be all about Tamiya. Do you know what I mean?
You saw this come through very, very clearly when you invited that fine gentleman on from Hella.
Yeah.
He knows where his marketplace is, and France and Germany are where his marketplace is, and he wants a bit of the UK market. Very sensible too for him. He knows it's Airfix's backyard, and if Airfix know it, which they do, there's going to be a lot of people having something to say about Airfix. Why do we say this stuff? It's because we care about it, actually. It's nice to see the homeboy doing well, actually, I have to say.
I mean, we could talk about Italieri for 2 hours, but I have a feeling the views won't be very won't be the highest that evening.
That's one company I would love to see thrive is a Tallery, because if you want to do a lorry kit, you want to do a decent car kit, go to them. When people say, "Oh, why don't Airfix do cars?" and you're like, "Fuck, you got Tamiya, a Tallery." You can look at all them, buy your cars from them. Revell do great cars.
I'm willing to be convinced otherwise, but I think if we had a 2-hour session on Italeri, it would actually be renamed Airfix and Slow Death.
And I think as the casual observer, and this is not a personal dig at the person who made that comment about topics, how many topics has that individual emailed you, Moz, to discuss?
None.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. It's a good question. Do you think there's a market for another UK model company, and could they compete with Airfix?
Well, they used to have Matchbox and Frog.
Yeah, well,
moons ago.
That's it.
There are a few British companies still going, isn't there? They're just not very well known.
Daypol is called the Wank Down Airfix train kits.
Yeah, but isn't MR a British company?
MR?
No.
No.
They're packaged in Britain, aren't they?
Yeah, Bachmann. They're Bachmann brand. I think that DBMK is the closest we're going to get for a UK-based manufacturer of kits. So, and to be fair, what they're looking at producing does show you that there is a corner of the market that they could hit. But we have to wait and see until the product comes out. There's whole judgment on that. But I think, by what I've seen so far, fair play to them. So there is other manufacturers out there that do it. Yeah.
I pre-ordered one. I think it's worth a punt, that one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. You're waiting for yours, aren't you, Luke? Your Sea Fury.
Say that again, mate.
I said we're talking about DBMK is the closest thing we have for another UK model company, because they are UK based. I think that there's a niche there they're going for. Is it 1/32 scale?
Yeah.
The Sea Fury, but we're waiting a long time for that. But yeah, it's. I think
me, for example, I'm prepared to wait as long as it takes for it to be right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, likewise. And if they fit the bill, and I think what they're going to look at is a limited production run of very high quality models, then they're going to do okay. Yeah, absolutely, it's worth it.
And it's definitely.
Or it's worth it to you and I. It may not be worth it to someone else. It may not be worth the wait or the price when they come out. So again, it comes back to that subjective: what is value to one? What is a great kit to one?
You're right. If we represent 20% of the market, then that's fine. That's what DBMK are looking for. They're not attacking the whole of market.
Exactly.
As long as they keep churning Fleet Aeron stuff out, more than happy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that, and you even get specialisms in the museum trade, don't you? Actually, funnily enough,
I would say at the end of the day, Airfix don't do 1/32 scale, and they won't. 1/24 is their scale, and bless their heart that they're still doing 1/24 scale, because it isn't cheap to produce a 1/24 scale kit. Rubicon Models, that's a good shout. They're English, aren't they?
No.
Where are they from?
Hong Kong.
Are they?
Yeah. You have Rubicon Models UK.
Yeah.
But that is a distributor.
Okay.
Rubicon Models is Hong Kong.
Oh, I thought they were UK based and they bought. Yeah, okay. No. Games Workshop is British and huge. They won't break out to real world type models though. No, but you got Warlord Games as well, which is owned by
because Games Workshop isn't a model company.
No,
they're a gaming company.
Yeah,
they produce models and they're bloody good, and I've got loads of them. I've spent way too much money on that shit. but and they're very good, but they're not a model company. They're a gaming company.
Well, if Games Workshop could produce me a 1/24th scale pilot that would go into a Mustang, for example, and had, I don't know, a hammer for its right hand and a big gun coming out of its head, then I might get them.
The thing is that they could absolutely, excuse me, they could absolutely move into the more scale modeling type genres. They could do that. They have the technology, they have the know-how, they have a massive team if they chose to go that route. But they never will, because they make millions and millions and millions of dollars a year doing what they do. And they are the best and biggest in the world at what they do. So why, if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yep.
Question: who has the Matchbox modes? Revell do, and they've been releasing. If you watch my video about the Rising for the Matchbox, you'll see this year they've released about 4 or 5 really good contemporary Matchbox kits for their day, like the Porsche and things like that. It was really good. But anyways, we're coming up to 10 o'clock. Again, another great for me, great discussion, great subject matter. Again, I'll just leave up, if you want to join the Discord group, Mod 6510 Scale Model Club. It's becoming really busy in there now, which is great. If you want to come, there's a QR code top left. If you want to scan that in, I've also pinned it to the top. Before you can post on that Discord, you have to read the rules and then select an emoji, and then you'll be assigned as a member. That's the only thing you ask for. So if you do go in, go to the rules section, click on an emoji to say that you've read the rules, and then you can post on there. But it's become really busy. Really, really happy with how well it's gone. If you want to come and join us there, which I just took off then, please feel free to jump in and have a chat. And I'm trying to discuss. People want to speak to me, especially channel members. I'm trying to get able to contact me through Discord, because of all the emails and Instagram messages and Facebook messages just gets lost in the drudge. So if you want to talk to me, or got a question, got a subject, come on Discord and private message or direct message me on there, and I'll answer any questions or add anything that you want to add to Airfix and Chill. But again, if you do have a subject matter you want us to talk about, because I'm getting a bit, as I said, brain fade trying to get a subject matter. I think we've gone through everything. I think there's nothing we haven't discussed yet, apart from his scale.
Can we talk about Airfix's business model?
Have we ever talked about it?
Yeah, no, we don't talk about that enough.
We don't need that.
We don't need that.
I've got an idea. Should companies do model advent calendars?
They do.
There's a company, isn't there a company that's got an advent calendar?
Yeah,
where you get
Revell do them. Revell do them.
Yeah, but not like those silly RC things that they put out. Proper kit.
Revell do a proper kit, and you open it up bit by bit, and by the 24th day, you have everything that you need, including the paints, the sprue cutters, the sanding sticks, cement, and the parts. I think they do a tractor, and they did the E-type Jag. I think you can buy them as an advent calendar. But it's just basically, day 1 you get a pair of slippers, day 2 you get a frame, day 3 you get some paint, day 4 you get another sprue, then you get a wheel, and day 5 it's. But you can't build it each day. You have to.
Do you get the instructions on day 25?
I think you do get the instructions on day 25. So yeah, they do them. But anyway.
Well, that was a great debate, guys. Join us next week for the next one.
Yeah.
We should have a mental whip round to come up with help Moss out for the next topic.
Yeah. Just so you know, the last show we're doing is December 22nd, which will be our Christmas jumper wearing, and we will be doing a competition that day. And we'll be talking about what we would like to see under the Christmas tree. Would be that one. So that subject's covered. So and then we have a break then, and we don't come back until the 4th.
Next year.
4th of January, I think we're back, which is a Monday.
It's a Monday.
And then the
5th is
following Monday will be our Airfix, what they're going to release this year, because I think Tuesday the 13th is Airfix. They will do the second Tuesday of the month, don't they? Will be their annual release and what they're going to think. Pub quiz. I imagine doing a pub quiz for this sort. I'll say do bingo. Actually, it'd be easy doing bingo.
I did a pub quiz.
Anyway, folks, thanks to the panel for joining me tonight. Thank you to all those who have spoken to us in the chat, and we'll see you next Monday on Airfix and Chill. Have a great one. Cheers all, and good night.
Good night.